I do think that this might end up sort of proving to be quite a big week for the manager. I was struck by the fact that he brought it back up again as well. I still think there's something in his somewhat glib pre-Derby press conference where he discussed, we gave a lot of free kicks away there last season, as though, in some way, shape or form, that wasn't also informed by the refereeing. The manager ends up himself at the end of that match getting his red card, clearly being very, very unhappy. Then you see him post-match yesterday where he looks absolutely delighted, feels like, no, we've battled through one there. I do think that so far this manager has made it look easy. It's striking that all of a sudden, and I don't mean this as a criticism because it was always going to come, I'm fine with it suddenly looking like it's a bit harder for him, because I think that's where we're going to see the best of him. I think he's got a bit of work to do this week, is what I'm saying, before Villa. I think he's got a bit of work to do with his players, and he just needs to get them back on it and back sharp, and this could be the making of this whole Liverpool team. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, this is where I suppose he proves that he absolutely is the man to lead Liverpool to success. I've really enjoyed, actually, as much as it would have been quite nice to see Liverpool romp to a load of comfortable wins, I've quite enjoyed over the last few weeks sort of seeing more of his personality come out a little bit. I think, there was a lot of talk when he came in, would he be as charismatic as Jurgen Klopp? And I've sort of felt all season that even though he's obviously a very different kind of character, he's still got a lot about him. He's still a really charismatic guy and has a lot of good things to say, and that's really impressed me about him. But I think the last few weeks we have seen him sort of lose his head a little bit on the touchline. He'll obviously, you imagine he will pay the price for that. I think Liverpool have got until
Wednesday.
The end. Is it till Wednesday?
I think it is just anywhere. I don't think it's an appeal. I think it's one that they've got. It is a tribunal process, so he's got to turn up and have a chat about it at some point.
So whatever punishment comes, we'll find out in due course, and whether he'll be on the touchline for Villa or for City or who knows. But yeah, I think it is interesting. It will be interesting to see how he navigates what's probably the trickiest couple of weeks of the season, probably bar the run where they had City, Madrid, and I think even more so now because you have the added pressure, you have the mental fatigue, you have the physical fatigue. So yeah, it'll be a big week for the manager.
Big week for him, but again, 7 clear. 7 clear becomes the defining factor. He's able to do whatever conversation he wants to do today, tomorrow, with whichever of his players, all of his players, whatever he wants to do it, but he does it off the basis of, nothing got broken. It's 7 clear, boys, and you've seen that week off now, and there's new challenges. I'm not saying that these aren't big challenges, but I feel as though this is important to Ian, I think, to be able to suffer a little bit but come out the other side and say, yeah, we suffered a little bit, but look at the table.
Yeah, absolutely. They are in an unbelievable position, and it will often get referenced that, think back to August and you'd be 7 points clear. Of course you'd take it. When you are living and breathing this, though, it can be, regardless of having that little gap or quite a big gap, it can be stressful still. And that can obviously play into, what happens on the pitch, because you could feel it in the ground. I thought at the weekend that people were getting a little bit anxious and stuff. And again, we talk about Goodison Park having an effect on the players. It probably had an effect on us, because you see it almost snatched away in that manner. And I said it on a show leading up to the game. Liverpool went great at Goodison. I thought they were really poor, actually, for large parts of that game.
They didn't deserve to win the game.
No, they didn't deserve to win the game. And, they should have won the game because of the game state. If they get to that point of the match, you should see it out, because that's, what you want title winners to go and do, or potential title winners. But, football's football. That can happen. You move on, you park it, and on you go. And then the Wolves one was a little bit of a worry, because the way the second half just felt like it might unravel. We've all seen enough football. I was watching, I said to Beth before we came on air, I thought there was a chance this might go to 2-2. It had that smell where you felt if it went to 2-1, they might just get a little bit nervous, a little bit tetchy. They've had to make a change at centre-half, which ends up being okay in the end. I think Quanta comes on and does well. He has that little one where it gets away from him, and the guy goes through one-on-one, and Alisson makes an unbelievable save, 1v1, which is brilliant. We really earns his money there. But then Quanta does go on to make that really important block, and you think for him that could do his confidence the world of good, because you felt like he's needed a moment like that
really
where he's played a part, and he can go, lads, I played a fucking part there.
He struggled against Plymouth as well.
He's had a tough time. Yeah. If you work your way back, you think about what that decision against Ipswich did for him in terms of just taking away some of that confidence that he built up the previous season. But again, it's football. Managers are allowed to make decisions. But this week, Neil, this is just a huge week for Liverpool Football Club. On paper, it looks really, really tough, and you can talk yourself into something that it's 3 games that, my God, you know, you could lose all 3, that kind of thing. It's important to remember Villa are pretty much mid-table at the minute.
It's striking in, before I bring Jake and Beth in on it, what is suddenly striking is when you just sort of look at again, I mentioned other shows before, I'm pulling weekends together at the minute, and it's one of those weekends where I almost feel a bit like they pulled the scores from a lottery.
Yeah.
Everyone's just flawed, and everyone's just finding the matches a little bit difficult, and you feel as though everyone's feeling the workload. You know, I watched Arsenal limp against Leicester and just look like, God, this is a graft. Apart from the young lad who looks like he actually works as a really interesting contrast. He plays like, oh, it's great, I've only ever played 10 games of football, I'm having the time of my life. Everyone else is playing like I've been playing this game for 100 years. You know, you're watching that, you see that one and that one, then you look at suddenly you look up, and again, maybe there's another contrast. City have looked dire all year. Marmouche turns up, having a lovely time, banging them in, feeling great about it. But the flip side is you still don't think City are that good, and they've got their own thing going on, and they feel massively inconsistent. We're talking about Villa, 1-1 against 10-man Ipswich. You know, they're like, well, that shouldn't be. And you can sort of go all the way down the league and go, you know what? The only result really that looks right in the way the game plays out, as well as the final score, really looks like it's Southampton 1, Bournemouth 3. Everyone else just looks a little bit like, well, we just pulled these scores out of a hat.
Yeah.
And I think that it does sort of tell where the moment is, and that's why I think it's, for me, when we're talking about this being massive, I want them to grab the moments, and I think that's what maybe why you are a bit frustrated with the previous 2 performances in different ways. And maybe they didn't need to do it against Wolves, and in the end they get the points anyway. But you feel like if they grab the moments in the next 3, they can really, really put the hammer down on everybody.